Hey everyone, this is Ankush Sharma, and today we will see how we can implement the reduce function in JavaScript from this sketch. Cool, so let's see first how we can use the reduce function. Right, so for that first I will take the input array. Let's suppose this is our input array, and we will apply the reduce function, inbuilt reduce function on top of this input array. So let's suppose here this reduce function we are getting, and this reduce function accept two arguments. So two parameters we will pass here. One is a callback and another is the initial value. So we will define initial value somewhere. So let's suppose 10 is there, and this callback function accept four arguments. First is like the accumulator, next is the current value, current array value, right, and next is the index, and next is the array itself. So what happened, this reduce function is going to iterate this input array, and it will call the callback function on each and every value of the input array, and whatever the value is returned by the callback, right? So here we are calling the callback function on each and every value of the input array, right? So whatever the value is returned by first callback function, that will be the accumulator for the next callback execution. So like that, this accumulator value will be passed from one callback function to another callback function, and whatever the value is returned by the last callback function, so that will be our final value. So let's suppose, so here we can write any logic here. So let's suppose here we are returning like accumulator plus current value, right? So the logic is like we are going to sum all the values of the array, right? So here let's suppose we take the final value also. So this is our final value, and now you can wonder like what will be the initial value of the accumulator. So initial value will be picked from this initial value that we are passing to this reduce function, right? And if we are not passing this initial value, that scenario also we will see. So in that case what happens, so initial value of the array will be put inside the accumulator, and the reduce will iterate the array from index 1 to the last element of the array. So in that case it won't iterate the first element of the array, right? So now let's suppose if we console the final value here and let's run it. So here we are getting 24, and why we are getting 24? So let's suppose initially we have the accumulator 10, then we are going to iterate the array from index 0 to index 2, right? And so let's see, 10 plus 2 is 12, and then 12 will be passed to the next callback. Now 12 plus 5 is 17, right? Then 17 will be passed to the next callback, and then 17 plus 7 is 24, right? So 24 will be our final value. So like that reduce function works, right? So let's suppose if we don't pass the initial value, let's see what happens. So initial value I will take it from here. So I will tell you how we can expect the result here. So initial value will be the accumulator now, so 2 will be there, and reduce function will iterate from index 1 to index 2. So 2 plus 5 is 7, right? And 7 will be the next value for the next value of the accumulator, and next we have 7 plus 7, that is 14. So 14 should be our final value if we are not passing the initial value. So let's see, so 14 is the result, right? So now let's try to implement the reduce function from the scratch. So for that we need to implement the reduce function under the prototype of the array constructor, right? So here we have prototype, and let's suppose we give the new name reduce2 here. This reduce2 is the function, so we will implement one function here, and this function is expecting two two arguments, right? One is a callback and another one is initial value. Right, now let's try to implement it. So one thing is obvious, this reduce function is going to return me the accumulator, right? So I will create one variable that is accumulator, and its initial value is whatever we are passing it from here, right? But here we need to take care of one thing. So if we are not passing the initial value, that means if the initial value is undefined, in that case we need to take the first value of the array into the accumulator for the first time, and then we need to iterate the array from index 1 to the last element of the array, right? So that condition we need to write. So let's take the iterator pointer also. So let's suppose I is the iterator pointer, and after that we can apply and after that we can check if the accumulator is equal to undefined. That means we haven't passed the initial value, right? So in that case we can update the accumulator with the initial value of the array. So here this will refer to the input array on which we are going to apply the reduce to function, and we will update our iterator pointer to the next value, that is 1, right? And after that we can we can iterate our input array. So like that we can iterate. Here you can see if the initial value is there, then the I will be 0, and if initial value is not there, in that case I will be 1, right? So here we can update our accumulator with the callback, whatever the callback is returning. So callback is coming from the argument, and here we will pass the initial value of the accumulator, and then we can pass the current value, so that we can take it from this, and then we have the index, and then we have the whole array, right? So yeah, so that's it. It should work. Cool. Now let's try to run this on the input array. We will copy paste this thing, and we will update final value 2, reduce to input array will be same. So this logic also we can keep same, and let's try to run it now. Cool, so we are getting the same result in both the cases, right? And now let's try to run it for the initial value case also. Let's uncomment this part. We will pass the initial value here, and we will pass the initial value here also. And let's try to run it now. Cool, so we are getting the same result, right? So that's it, guys. So here we have implemented the reduce function from the scratch. Hope you learned something new today. I will see you next time. Till then, bye.